This is possible as a result of a public-private alliance, perhaps a private-public alliance, and I want to thank all partners that are supporting this initiative. In this first panel to discuss sustainable livestock, I would like to thank Marfrig through Mayara Jungles, the Ministry of Agriculture of Belize, friend of ICA, Jose Abelardo May, Isabella Teixeira, ICA Special Advisor, and obviously Dr. Muhammad Ibrahim, Director of Technical Cooperation Activities of ICA. Also, another partners, Solutions from the Land. Thank you for being possible this third edition of our pavilion. As a brief reminder about what ICA is, let me emphasize that ICA is a bridge institution, also a resilient one that has evolved through the last 83 years, that now at the present time we are supporting the transformation of agri-food systems. We strongly believe in agriculture since we have a past, a present, and more importantly, a future related with agriculture. This is why we have to believe in agriculture, we have to trust in agriculture, and we have to defend the cause of agriculture. The question is why? And the answer is because we in the Americas are the guarantors of food security and also environmental sustainability. Just a few words about livestock. I don't share those accusations that pretend to put livestock as the villain of this movie. Let me share some figures about the importance of animal production in my region, in the Americas. In LAC countries, for example, we have almost 4 million heads of cattle. We have more than 3.3 million ranchers, especially small and medium. In Central America, for example, nearly 86% of livestock farms are small ones. An average farm owned by small farmers is about 18 hectares, having between 4 and 20 animals. We represent 26% of worldwide production and 33% of total exports, playing a fundamental role in the food and nutritional security of the planet. Animal production is undergoing some changes, looking in all cases for more efficiency, lowering gas emissions per hectare, and in which we have to adjust animal production to a regenerative activity, more precision agriculture, and in this way, I insist, we are going to be more efficient, we are going to be a sustainable animal production. But looking at the future, and just to conclude, we need to invest more in science and innovation. We need freer trade, and more importantly, feel more proud of our animal production systems. This is time now to learn to the members of this high-level panel, and I would like to give Margaret the floor. Thank you.
Welcome again, everyone. Can you hear me? All right, good. This is a new system. No? You cannot hear. Okay, I'll try again. These folks cannot hear. I don't know.
Testing.
Testing? Put on your headphones, then you can hear me, Francisco. Okay, great. Now everyone can hear. Welcome. This is the home of Sustainable Agriculture of the Americas, ICA's pavilion, which we have inaugurated in COP27 in Egypt and last year in Dubai. And here we are for our third time together as we move towards COP30 next year in Brazil. So we are very much not only looking to the past, we're looking forward. This collaboration we have with private sector, scientists, ministries of agriculture, farmers, this is the home of sustainable agriculture. All are welcome. This is our opening event, and we are so glad that you are here. So we're going to go a little bit more deeply into the topic of sustainable livestock and food security, and particularly the leadership of the Americas region. Why the Americas are unique, we believe, and a vital force for food security in the world, and why we can bring solutions to the climate crisis from the agriculture sector. So our panelists today are the Honorable Jose Abelardo May, to my left, the Minister of Agriculture, Food Security, and Enterprise of Belize. He is also a very successful large crop and livestock farmer himself, so he comes with knowledge of the subject, and he will share a bit personally, I think, also from his experiences on his farm, how they are leading a movement for more sustainable agriculture, and he's doing it on his own property. We will next hear from Mayara Junglis from BRF Marfrig. She's been working in the field of sustainability and environment for over 15 years. She now works with BRF Marfrig, two of the largest food companies, not only in the Americas, but in the world. And since 2020, she has served in her role there as sustainability manager. She's leading the environmental, sustainability, and governance strategy, as well as the company's decarbonization plans. So this is going to be quite interesting to learn more about what you're doing. Next, we will hear from Isabella Teixeira, who is the special advisor to ICA for the G20 and COP29 and COP30. She's an expert in environmental management, impact assessment, and licensing, and she's the former Environment Minister of Brazil. She was named a Champion of the Earth in 2013. Thank you for your work. And to contribute also on the part of ICA, we have Dr. Muhammad Ibrahim. He is our Director of Technical Cooperation, and he was formerly the Director General of COTIE, the Tropical Agricultural Center of Research and Education in Costa Rica, also our sister institute at ICA. He founded the Livestock and Environmental Management Program at COTIE, and he's played an important role in helping build a movement for environmentally friendly and competitive livestock systems. So first, let's start it off, and I'm going to ask each of you, actually, the same question. Why are the countries of the Americas so important for food security and climate change from your own perspectives? So I'm going to pass this along, and you just give me your short answers in just a few minutes, okay? Starting with you, Minister.
Thank you, Margaret. Good morning to all. America is of critical importance to food security and climate change. Let us not forget that for many reasons this is so. But two of the most important reasons is one is because of the food production capability, and two, its wide biodiversity and ecology. Those are two of the most important reasons. And to further expand, let us not forget that corn is indigenous to the Americas. Some of the most consumed grains in the world and some of the most important fruits of the world are produced in the Americas. Canada,
One, two,
wheat,
1, 2.
the most consumed grain in the world, followed by maize, corn, soybean, and rice. These are the most consumed.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2.
Canada and the US, largest producers of wheat, corn, soybean. Fertile plains, the Midwest. Let us not forget the wonderful fruits produced in Mexico, the famous aguacate has that is exported across the world, the coffee in Central America, the cacao in Central America, the potatoes in the Andes, the wonderful beef from South America, Argentina, and Brazil. Soybean in Brazil. Oh, the great citrus concentrate from my country, Belize. And the sweet sugar that comes from sugarcane in the region. So we produce enough for the Americas, but we also produce for other countries. While China and India are large producers of food, they are also the largest consumers of food. In the Americas, we produce for ourselves, and we produce for other countries. In terms of biodiversity, we enjoy the coastal plains. We have the mangrove that protects our shores and are the environment for our fish that spawn. The savanna lands, oh, of course, and the Amazon, which is a carbon sink. It captures the carbon produced by much of the developed countries. And so it's important for us, the Belize Barrier Reef, a wonderful natural resource. And so if anything was to disrupt the agriculture sector, it could lead to serious food insecurity. But these resources are many times threatened by the many storms, by fires. This year we had the worst fires in Belize due to long dry seasons. Our forests were on fire. 40% of the mountain pine was burnt. Hurricane Nadine just passed. And so, if anything is to go wrong with the Americas, the world would feel the need for food.
Thank you so much. Okay, Mayara, your reasons why this hemisphere is so important.
First of all, I'd like to invite for the integration the special pavilion behalf the Marfrig and BRF. The Latin America region is crucial for the food security in terms of crucial for the food security. The national have climate change, the climate energy, renewable energy. We have a special energy renewable matrix. The Latin America and the Caribbean makeup represent approximately 5-7% of the primary forest remain the world. In this forest, it's important role for the capturing carbon and the climate mitigation, the climate change. In addition, according to the FAO, the FAO, the Latin America detail approximately 28% of the arable land. And by 2050, the world will require 6% more food. It's put in Latin America in this special strategy position because Latin America have an important role for the combat the food security in global economy. That approach regarding integrations between agriculture, climate change, and biodiversity loss, as well as they create a new policy in the world, also required a narrative that favors the more efficient resource, the reduction of greenhouse emissions, high resilience, and the productive. Thank you.
It's me? Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for the invitation to join EICA today and to share some ideas. I absolutely agree with all the purpose and perspectives of agriculture in Latin America, but I'd like to observe the different context, okay? Because my feeling is that still we're discussing the past. And I'm sorry, but everything's changing, or the world is updating. It's like downloading things, uploading other things, and you need to set an agenda if you want to come an innovative narrative, as Manuel used to mention, for the region if it wants to come to have food security and energy security based on biomass and also nature. And this is our, I think that is our really concrete perspectives when you go into Latin America. And you understand also these territories is part of peace. We have peace and security when you go to compare around the world. So the context of the debate today, considering not only climate change, but also nature and biodiversity, is absolutely different than it was in the past. And we need to recognize that climate change is no more a future problem. It's happening. The extreme weather events and how we're exposed to climate risks, and also vulnerabilities. Nobody knows yet, even the science, because we pick 1.5 and probably we need to address 1.5. Well, we're shooting for 1.5. And all the scientific modeling, they're really struggling to understand better what's happening. And this means that probably we're exposed to these vulnerabilities in the next years. So when you come to discuss private food security, it's important to observe when you go into our crops, if we need to move science to go to promote some new species or genetic modified species to be adaptive, for example, to manage better water security crisis. Okay, probably we need more roots, and also how you manage better the soil waste and how you should come, considering how the weather will come to add pressure with fires, with drought, with floods, with different cycles that will impact our ways to produce food. Okay, so it's very interesting when you come to understand that climate change is happening. Second, climate change is a political issue, approach inside and outside an FCCC, so it's not only in the COPs. This means that trade, plurilateral cooperation, bilateral cooperation, the like-minded blocks like G20, G7, OECD, and also BRICS Plus coming to discuss food security. And we need to understand this with our role. How would you like to come? Or we are going to fight against green protectionism. This is something that doesn't make sense. But this is part of the short-term rules that we have around the world from some developing countries. We cannot forget when we go into climate change that in Rio 992, the climate regime was a G7 initiative to address climate and energy security. The developing world was convened to join this, and we joined, the South joined linking climate and sustainable development and make the fight against poverty an absolute priority. This is very important. Food security is also a good way, a strategic way, it is our roots to go against poverty and inequalities. And if you're not able to understand this, when you go to climate security, climate risk, to food produce, and also food production, also energy production, biomass energy, this is part of the set of the 4 solutions that we have today available in the world to provide the transition for energy. You need to understand that this region must set an agenda, must set an innovative agenda, new ways to come together, new ways to have private sector on board, and to understand how would you like to come bilaterally or regionally first, because our tradition in climate change is not to come together in the region. Okay? And this is really imperative political perspective. We cannot forget also that when we go into climate change, we are discussing climate politics today and climate geopolitics. Okay, and climate is part of the new geopolitical game around the world, and we have the fragmented situation of the multilateral cooperation. And this is true, probably will not fix this in short-term perspective, unfortunately. And we need to understand how we can come together, even step by step. This matters when we go to fight against the rise of temperature and also the Celsius degrees. Finally, we cannot forget that we are vulnerable during climate change. Okay? The region is vulnerable. We are exposed to extreme weather. What's happening in my country this year is true, but also what's happening in the United States, in Florida, in Texas, in California, and going to the Central America is the same. Okay, we are absolutely vulnerable. You don't understand very well how vulnerable you are today with climate change. So it's very important that we can have a regional science reference or scientific development and have really a powerful scientific knowledge in that region. We have really good institutions in that region, consider agriculture, and also energy and based on biomass. And my suggestion is that based on setting a new agenda, based on an innovative narrative, a new perspective, we must come as we, the region, is a critical region, a key region for food security, but based on innovative vision, based on innovative perspective, managing the next 20 years, considering the 2 cycles of Paris Agreement, considering climate vulnerability and climate risk. My last comment is exactly about the middle class in rural areas and how we can like to come to provide additional income, add value for supply chains, and make sure that we can minimize inequality, regional inequality, social inequality, and also technological inequality. So we cannot forget it. This is critical, and I think that we have really deep asymmetries among our countries, and also something that will emerge as a consequence of this crisis is climate change and so nature crisis. The natural resource inequalities or environmental inequalities. We are not able to access natural resources. It used to be until now, and unfortunately, and by 2060 we will raise 6% of the use of natural resources around the world. This will collapse. And this means that we need to, our rates of waste of natural resources in the region is so high, and we need to improve our capacities, institutional capacities, scientific capacities to produce more food with less nature and less natural resources. This is a really big challenge for us, and also probably with a high impact and business model and how you like to come to improve our companies and our capacities to promote not only trade, but to promote economic growth. So it's a new way to bring together public sector and private sector. We need to understand this, and so in my opinion, the future is in the present. This is the big challenge for our region. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We have seen is showing that Latin America and the Caribbean. Hello. Yeah. So basically, they're feeding up to 1.3 billion people on an annual basis, and I think the future in terms of what the demand for food, Latin America and the Caribbean will continue to be an important supplier of food in the global food ecosystems. However, as Isabella mentioned, we need to retool the food ecosystem, considering the threats that we have and the vulnerabilities. The region has a very diverse ecosystem and biodiversity that we have in this area, as well as the water resources, which means we have the natural resources, but we need to look at more resource efficiencies in terms of how do you produce food. Hello. So we need to look at more the use of water efficiencies in terms of producing, but also looking at what are the other problems that we have in terms of the challenge. Yeah. So.
Testing.
No.
Hello. There are some major challenges.
It's not the microphone. I have to bring the antenna over here. Just maybe he comes over for a second and I'll fix the antenna. Okay?
Oh.
If you sense on this side,
No. Okay, there you go.
Hello. So one of the things I would like to highlight more is the agrobiodiversity and the genetic resources that we have in the region. We have a rich genetic resources. Potatoes, we have rice, yeah, we have the wheat, we have maize collections, we have the forages, all the genetic resources that we can tap in terms of the agrobiodiversity. And I think in terms of broadening the food system, we can integrate more of these genetic resources and agrobiodiversity, considering that we are using only a narrow number of groups of plants for food, and integrating this within the family agriculture systems that we're working on. And that will be very important in terms of responding to the food and nutritional securities. We do understand about the vulnerabilities that we have in the region in terms of climate change, but there are other vulnerabilities in terms of the social aspects. We have an aging population of farmers. We need to integrate more youths, more a gender focus, where ICA is playing an important role in terms of elevating the importance of rural leaders and gender in building the rural prosperity, where agriculture is a driving force for looking at the rural prosperity in the region. I think also why the region has been prosperous, I think in terms of innovation and technology. The institutions like INTA and the Brazilian Embrapa has been playing an important role in terms of generating knowledge and science. Going back to the main subject which is in discussion in terms of livestock, which globally is on looking at the global food systems and the importance of livestock, which is being questioned in terms of the importance of emissions of greenhouse gases. As the Director General mentioned, livestock is playing an important role in livelihoods and also responding to multiple objectives of the Sustainable Development Goals. And there are good examples where Embrapa, as well as CATI, as well as INTA, has been playing an important role in developing innovative technologies, including the integration of livestock within forestry and improved pastures, silvopastoral systems, improving genetic resources, but also enhancing the productivity of the systems, reducing the emission intensities, which is in question, but also contributing to the biodiversity conservation. And therefore, we are looking at practices and solutions to the problems in this case of livestock, but also similar examples of good practices for other systems, including cocoa and coffee with agroforestry systems, which CATI has been playing an important role in generating knowledge and science in terms of these areas. So I think in terms of the livestock, there are advances into the science. The work that is done by Professor Latran Lal and his team is showing that the carbon sequestration has been increasing. And if we can restore a large percentage of the degraded lands that we have in Latin America, will contribute to increasing the productivity, contributing to productive systems, while at the same time conserving the forests, the Amazon biome, which is very important, which is in question and discussion. But also we have more vulnerable areas. If you go to Central America, for example, the dry corridor of Central America is a vulnerable area in terms of the drought. The fires that the minister mentioned is one also very important. But one of the important things in terms of the paradigm shift which CIC has been promoting now is the impact on bioeconomy. We think in the tropical regions where we're now promoting a tropical agriculture platform, producing the bioeconomy and biomass, using more resource use in terms of efficiencies in the biomass that we produce, can result in multiple value chains within the rural communities and creating employment opportunities for rural farmers and rural communities, improving livelihoods, but also focusing on the agenda in these areas. So bioeconomy has been a tool that we've been focusing on, retooling and looking at how we need a paradigm shift and the changing in the systems that we're working on. And those are the advances where we see Latin American, Caribbean, but also promoting South-South cooperation to see how this innovation can be translated in terms of enhancing global food system supply. Thank you.
Thank you. Is this working? Now is it working? You can hear me? Testing. Yes. Great. Okay, great. So I want to move a little bit away from just, we're talking about being united in our vulnerabilities. What can we do to really overcome in some ways, the somewhat negative impression or the view that we are the villains in the Americas because of livestock production. Perhaps there's not an understanding of really the power of that, the importance of that for food security, for the bioeconomy. What are the ways that we can create this new narrative from the Americas to the world? I'd like to hear just maybe a brief example from you, Minister, and then I'll turn to you. I'd love to hear what BRF Marfrig's doing with decarbonization, some of your green programs. But first, let me hear from the Minister. What do you think we can do as a sector to demonstrate that we are moving towards green agriculture, better livestock systems?
Well, the mentality or the notion that livestock is what the third contributor to greenhouse gases by way of methane. The farmers in Belize, 80% own 50 head of cattle and less, 6,000 small-scale farmers. But we have moved, with the assistance from ICA and CATIA in the region, to a sustainable type production of cattle. In theory, if our cows are producing 100 tons of methane, then we must produce 100 tons of oxygen. Farmers have learned now by the experience that trees play an important role in the sector. Never before have we seen so long stretched out droughts. Never before. Never had we seen people buying or selling bales of hay to feed the animals. Today, it has become a business because of long drawn out dry spells. Never before did you see farmers moving livestock out of one pasture to the next because of waterlogging. And so the farmers have learned today that trees play an important role. We have a group of people that are accused of being deforesters. They are the first ones to be educated to say that we cannot remove the trees anymore. There's no need to remove the trees anymore to expand production of cattle. We can do what Katia is doing, 3 animals per acre, 4 animals per acre, using improved genetics of pastures, improved genetics of animals, higher average daily gain by doing cross between the Bos indicus and the Bos taurus european and the tropical breeds. And that is showing positive results. We have seen research now in forages where we have grasses that have a meter of roots, which means that this grass could absorb water from deep below the soil. It is a drought-resistant variety, hybrid. And we've seen those that can grow in water, like the humidicola, that grows in marginal soils, sandy soils, where no one believed that you could have ever grown something. But research and technology is playing an important role today. And these are some of the things that we're doing. Investing in small pastures where animals walk less, use less energy, trample less, and eat more. And these are some of the actions that we have taken in our country. As a matter of fact, we have a $50 million World Bank project called Climate Resilient and Sustainable Agriculture Project, where the requirements for that, each project has to be sustainable. It has to be approved by the ministry to be a sustainable project. The banks, the institutions that are managers of the money, the on-lenders, have to meet certain standards. It's not something that we can continue to do. Deforestation is unacceptable today.
Thank you. Mayara, what are you doing to decarbonize?
I can read out.
No?
No. Yes. It's better. It's better because the return confusing. Well, produce food increase in the sustainable way, reduce greenhouse gas emission, and conserve biomes and traditional areas, and promote animal welfare, and requires its suppliers to follow the same path. These are some of the principles for that guide BRF and Marfrig ESG strategy. On the pillar, the ESG strategy is the work to include the producers and include the producers excluded. The company encourages them to adopt the good practice and assists them in relation of environmental, labor, and documentation issue. Between the beginning the Verde Mais program based on inclusion, monitor, and financial mechanism, we include more 400 properties to this supply chain. Marfrig currently maintains the highest monitor rates in direct supplier among the companies in this sector, with weight covered the Amazon and 76% in the Cerrado biomes. In the both biomes, the areas the highest risk of deforestation are already full monitor. In addition, Marfrig also invests in regenerative agriculture, intensive the proper management of pasture, increase the productive, and avoid to need to supply native vegetation. Marfrig has also set targets for reduction greenhouse gas emission to control the global warming. By 2035, it is expected to reduce the Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions by 6-8% and Scope 3 emissions by 33% compared to 2019. To achieve these objectives, among other initiatives, we have been testing the use supplement in animal feed. Thank you so much.
Just a quick follow-up. How are you helping the farmers actually do that? Because one of the questions many people ask is farmers can't always do this without support. Are they being paid? Are they getting any type of reward for participating with you in the supply chain? How do you directly help farmers in your supply
We
chain?
established the program to assist them with the special technical supporting, and we have a program that is specific for them. When we introduce the producers, we take the technical informations and the regulations, and give them the support for regulations. We have technical support for them.
No. Things. The first one is that the importance to set a new agenda for agriculture in Latin America. Why? There is a war of narratives, pro and contra or against agriculture and environment. We need to stop this. And to stop this, it's absolutely important to recognize our mistakes, okay, and also our assets, and to understand how we should come together based on this new climate age and also nature age. This means that the past will help us, the mistakes and the assets and the good things, to understand our responsibilities, not to only consider private sector, but public sector with good regulations and a good understanding of the roles and responsibilities to come together. People must know what's happening. Transparency is not only based on ESG, Okay, this is good for business, but not necessary for Mary, for John, for Larry, etc. They must understand when you go to buy food, and food, if you want to eat beef, but you need traceability. You need to recognize the social rights behind the supply chains, food supply chains. We need to understand what we are buying. And this means when you go to international trade, that's why I recognize the mistakes and also the perspective, the new ones, how would you like to come. To go to international markets, it's very interesting that you can understand the costs on one side of the coin and the price on the other side. Sustainable consumption and production means that the markets, consumers must pay the prices, and not necessarily this is happening to them around the world. Okay, and that's why I understand that the regional cooperation is really important, because we can come, and Manuel, this agenda from IICA means this, okay? We can come based on our common understanding about our challenges, our vulnerabilities, the ways to do business is different. This is the Western world. This is no Western world, is different. We go to international trade, this is very good, but you used to forget the national markets. We need to come to discuss and to provide solutions to make that you can go to food security, poverty eradication, hunger eradication, extreme poverty eradication, to understand how environment is part of the solutions and not part of the dispute that some other countries would like to provoke for our regions. It's a way to go to our pricing and to go into our competitiveness and our productivity. So it's very interesting. You should stop and discuss openly what you want to do, consider the future, not only the past. And my last point, it's very important to recognize the soils in the region, okay, and the soils and biodiversity. This is very, very interesting, because we used to discuss water, but integrity and the health of the soil would be really critical issues in the future. And this is part of the new agenda that must be set. So to change things, we need to change, political will to change, and we need really a new way to approach people. People must be convinced that we are in the right directions, because we learn with our experience, good ones and bad ones. Thank you.
Thank you. I like what you said about acknowledging our past mistakes or where we need to improve. I think that's what we're here to do. We'll be taken more seriously, right? So, Mohammed, just a final round here before we finish, as we're approaching the end of our time. Back to livestock. Isabel mentioned soils. How do you see livestock being beneficial for soil health and a sort of a virtuous circle that we can create? How can we do a better job at that and communicate also the benefits of those kinds of systems?
Well, at ICA, we are leading the Living Soils initiative, which is generating information, important information on soils, and demonstrating that with good livestock management and grazing, including the integration of grass legume mixtures, which have been developed by Embrapa, showing how you can improve the carbon and also recycling of nutrients, reducing the use of fertilizers, and also contributing to the carbon neutrality of the systems. There are good data in Uruguay, in Argentina, in Brazil, and in Central America, which is showing that with good management of these improved systems and improved soil, you can look at carbon neutrality. And already many of the countries have included livestock in the NDCs as part of the solution to looking at the climate change objectives that we have in Central America, but also in the whole of Latin America. There are already more than 20 countries that have got livestock as part of the solution. I think that the discussion about livestock and the impact on the environment and reconfiguration of the food systems based on what we have seen from the Eat Lancet report, looking at more sustainable consumptions, looking at traceability and what are the carbon labels you're going to have when you're purchasing beef, whatever. My opinion is that the integration of livestock with crops will, as we've seen in the case of soybean and what Brazil has been doing, will be part of the solution, especially as the role that livestock have in terms of recycling nutrients and improving the soil fertility. So you can look at the trade-offs, but looking at the win-win situations where you can look at the productivity of the systems and resource, while at the same time producing, responding to what the consumers are demanding, and livestock playing an important role. Many of the countries have advanced in terms of looking at the carbon neutrality and reducing the emission intensities, but one of the problems, including Uruguay and already New Zealand and other countries, is how do you set the economic frontiers of the livestock systems? They are expanding, and because of the expanding, they haven't been able to achieve the objectives of the NDCs and what they've set compared to the reference point for the baseline information on emissions. So I think that's one of the challenges, and I think there's not a one-size-fits-all like we've seen in the Eat Lancet report, which you've set a reference number of calories that you can consume. We need to understand that there are many people who are undernourished, and how can meat and milk play an important role in terms of improving nutritional standards, but also the food security and nutrition, and therefore we need to have a more differentiated policies on what we want to promote in terms of the livestock.
Thank you so much. Well, we're approaching the end of our time, but I just wanted to give the last word to the minister, Minister Mai, because you and I spoke this week about why you're here at COP, why you're coming here. And I'd love to hear you share with the audience a little bit about maybe a call to action that you might have for the room, and how we can take not only the promise of the Americas agriculture, but what we need to do to achieve it. What do we need from the finance sector, from the global community, to achieve these goals as an agriculture sector?
First, I must confess to you all that it was very difficult for me to decide whether I come to COP29 or not to come. We are facing serious challenges in my country at this time. We just passed a law, an amendment to an act yesterday in the House of Representatives. I wasn't there, but I was concerned because my colleague had to table the bill, an amendment to the Disaster Preparedness Act to include animal and plant disease as an emergency. The act did not consider plant and animal disease as an emergency, so we had to amend the bill to address an issue of sugarcane. We expected to lose 40%. Well, there's 40,000 acres affected by fusarium. Never before had we seen fusarium in sugarcane region. That represents close to $30 million for farmers. We just lost 40% of the soybean crop. We were to have the record crop this year. Excellent production. But at the point of harvesting, we had rains which were never expected. So we're losing 40% of soybean. And Belize is the only country in Central America and Caribbean that produces enough soybean to feed itself and to export the meal and the oil. At the same time, we are threatened, our livestock is being threatened by screwworm now in Guatemala, 40 miles from Belize. And so it was difficult for me to decide to come, but I had a commitment to ICA, and I said, I will go. It's the first time I'm coming. Because as a farmer, you will understand that farmers don't have much time to waste. We deal with living organisms. While you and I sleep and drink wine and eat cheese, the disease is spreading. The pests are multiplying. And I said I would not come to this place and go back empty-handed to my farmers who say, I went to COP29, I have beautiful images of photographs I took, but I have nothing to offer to you. On one hand, the farmers are losing, and on the other hand, they are making bold attempts to mitigate the effects of climate change, something that we did not cause. So to come here, this is a very, very expensive activity. Millions and millions of dollars have pumped here. But to go back, having nothing to show to the farmers, then I need to rethink. What did I go to do at COP29? And so it is critical, it is important for the people who have signed agreements to raise $100 billion to make an effort to meet those targets. It is important that the target set to reduce emissions by 43% be met. It is important that the financiers use our institutions like ICA and Cartier as a vehicle to supply resources to the farmers of the region to help to mitigate the effects of climate change. Sustainable agriculture, climate-smart agriculture is not cheap. It comes at a high cost. And food security is not only producing food, but affordable food. If the people are unable to afford the food, then that's not food security anymore. And the higher the investments that the farmers make to mitigate the effects of climate change, the higher the cost of food. So I am here today with that in mind, that this is not going to be an expensive talk shop. This is going to be a forum that will respond to the needs of the small farmers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So we're going to close now, and I just want to thank again all of you for coming so far to prepare, to be part of this. We want to carry this message forward and share it with everyone here at COP and beyond. So we welcome you again to our pavilion. This is our opening morning. We hope you will come back for many more of our sessions. And let's give our panelists a final round of applause. Thank you. Please. Oh, I forgot. Want to say anything? Sorry, I forgot. I'm sorry. Thank you. Hola.
Excelente.
¿Qué tal? I wanted to give him a last word. Yeah.
Good job. Good job.
I forgot the DG was supposed to speak at the end.
Oh man.
I forgot. It's okay.
You were supposed to close it down.
Yeah. We're running late now.
It's okay.
This
Ulrike was
stuff
just there. She
doesn't
came
work.
to check.
Okay, good. Good.
She's there. And I
Who
told
is
her
there?
you'll be joining her
Ulrike?
side
Ulrike
event.
goes, yeah.
Oh, she's
She'll be joining her side event.
Okay.
I want the side event.
Weekend before.
Hey! You came. You found us, even though the place is a shambles, sort
And
of.
the week before, I think I was in Washington. I'm not sure when I was in Washington.
You're like, where's Waldo?
I am like, where's Waldo? But thank you for coming. It's lovely to see you, as always.
We
We owe each other things.
I
Okay.
am behind
So for
because I've
Monday-
been like running
on,
like.
Margaret.
I'm
You're
sorry.
behind.
I'm way behind.
So
She's
for
been emailing me.
Monday, me, you, Eduardo.
And
from
I have
Crop Life Brazil.
the International Dairy Federation. I believe,
Okay.
Is
I've
confirmed.
got Yara.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh.
That was my latest.
Monday.
Oh,
Am
good.
I
I haven't
moderating that
read
on
the
Monday?
emails yet.
And you know who else is
You're
here
moderating.
kicking around on Monday is Keith Curry, who's like very trade.
Yeah, he's very good.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
wow.
CFA president.
Agrifood Canada with Brazil, Australia.
No,
No?
it's our
No, we're
panel
doing
after
this
that.
one.
The
Crop
trade.
after that.
I just
Boy
want to
day.
make sure I don't owe you anything. So I didn't ask Keith yet, but Yara is a yes, and Eduardo is a yes.
And
Oh,
I've
this
got
is
a.
the sustainable trade one. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where we were trying to screw you, Canada. Take our panel here. I can't believe they denied me.
What happened?
They knew who I am.
What happened?
We put in that panel for the Canadian
Oh,
pavilion.
they said no.
They did. They clearly don't know who we are, Lloyd.
But
Man.
we have
And
we,
you're
we,
Canadian. What
yeah.
the heck?
Well, we have a trade pavilion with Canada and with
I saw that.
USFRA too. On I don't know what day.
They're the G7
I don't know what that is, but
presidency.
something with the
You don't know
WTO,
what
I
the
think.
G7 is?
No, something with the WTO. Don't be smart,
This is
Missy, with your
this
little
is my-
fancy. Let's wake up after the panel.
This is my
What are you
alarm.
saying to Margaret here?
I got in at 4:30 in the morning.
Oh, you
friends.
just came
Oh
now?
yeah, that's
Like
what I did.
just
That's what I
rolled
did
in.
yesterday.
And so I was,
And I was
like,
here all
gonna go
day.
to sleep. And my hotel's a bit of an adventure, but I think that
So is ours.
it's called the Volga.
Oh, that
Oh.
sounds nice.
The Volga?
Ours
Sounds
is
very Russian.
Sahil.
It's the three best
Sahil,
stars
I
you
found
can
out what
have.
it means.
What's it mean?
The beach.
Oh,
Yeah.
are you near a beach?
Well,
I
there's
think
like
so,
the
yeah.
Corniche. There's a Corniche.
I haven't seen anything. We just went to a restaurant right next door. That's it.
Okay.
Then we came here.
All right. Well, it sounds about your next 2 weeks.
Do you want some food? Have you had breakfast? We've got some,
I don't
some
know.
things
We
over
have
here.
coffee, and I
I'm
know how
good.
to ask for coffee in Armenian,
Oh,
or
good.
as Azeri.
Don't say Armenian. Oh, he's
Need a
written it down.
refresher. Nimizamat olmasa, give a bit.
Well, that's excellent.
Pretty cool, huh?
I don't drink coffee.
Nimizamat.
Oh, good for you.
What?
No, I drink Diet Coke, which is why I'm on the prowl for some Diet Coke. I gotta stock up.
Thank
cranky.
you. Thank you, gracias.
That's all. And then Petra.
Get with it.
There's on Monday Petra Laux.
Yeah, is she available to do the happy hour?
Wait. Oh yeah, we did the tech happy hour. I'd prefer if Edu did it, if that's okay, because he's
The
actually
happy hour
pro
or
player.
the morning coffee chat?
Morning coffee chat.
I think we can do that on
Okay. Saturday we had said maybe.
Saturday. Yes. Yeah, that's. Let me look.
I mean, like whatever.
Oh, God, I'm
Let's just catch up. And Eduardo and Renata, so our Crop Life Brazil folks are coming today, so they'll be here
I
today.
think so.
So I can catch up.
I'm going to try to add maybe. a
But then
minister if we can
Syngenta
get
was
one.
asking me about Petra's panel on the 18th, something about water.
Yeah. Oh.
So they were asking me if I had to run a show.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Here it says 4 panelists and a moderator.
My comms people are like, well, which of these are we actually sponsoring? I'm like, I don't know. All of them. We're sponsoring the pavilion.
Yeah. Yeah. Petra's with Syngenta, right?
Yeah, no, I don't even, I think
No
you
water?
asked her directly. Something about, no, anyways, they were just looking. That was the major one was, we'll bluff our way through the rest of them. But
I've got to make sure.